I arrive in Grayfin on a Wednesday that smells like salt and rain, and the first thing I notice is the bell that keeps ringing when the wind is still. It hangs over the old boathouse like a brass moon, perfectly still between each strike, as if something invisible taps it with a patient finger. Locals say the tide can do it. Locals say anything can do it, except what they're really thinking. I'm here because I am good at noticing things people stop noticing. I restore broken clocks and bent music boxes, stubborn metronomes that skipped a beat and never found it again. When a collector in Grayfin sends me a grainy video of the boathouse bell chiming on a dead calm night, he adds a line that pricks at me. It rings, 13, just before a storm. Bells don't count 13. People do. The town looks painted with overcast, scallop roofs, peeling signs, a harbor stitched with ropes and gulls. I rent a small room above the bakery where morning starts at 4 and sugar drifts under the door. The landlady, Mrs. Downs, slides a key across the counter and keeps her eyes on it, like it might run away. "You'll be careful around the boathouse," she says, as if we're already in the middle of a conversation. "Careful of what?" "Weather," she says, and taps the counter once. "Weather and old promises." At dusk, I walk to the harbor. The boathouse sits at the end of a rotting pier, slatted sides, a knot of nets like sleeping beasts stacked against the wall. The bell hangs from a crossbeam inside, a curve of greenish metal veined with sea scars. It's the kind of bell you ring to come home. I stand, listen. The air has the huge stillness right before darkness seals it. Somewhere in the marsh, a heron grates out, a sound like a saw on wet wood. I count the seconds the way I do with clocks, 1 and 2 and 3, and on 4 the bell shivers to a single note, like a coin touching glass. "Don't be here after sundown," someone says behind me. He's maybe 20, with a fisherman's sweater gone loose at the elbows, and eyes that keep trying to be brave. He points to the bell. "You wait around for it, and it'll make you wait for other things you actually need to do." "What things?" "Leaving," he says. He tells me his name is Eli, and that the bell started ringing on its own 3 summers ago, after the harbor took a boat named Morrow. We stand together for a while, not looking at the water where the boat is not. Eli says he doesn't believe in signs, but he believes in patterns. And the pattern is that after the bell rings, 13, someone does something they can't take back. Not always that night, not always the same person. But the town feels it like a bruise under a sleeve. "Watch," he says. "It'll ring that last one soft so you strain to hear it." We wait. The moon lifts pale and distracted over the rooftops. I count between the chimes and wonder who taught the bell to be a metronome. 9, 10, 11, 12. The 12th hangs a fraction longer, like a breath held in a choir. And then comes a small, private note. Almost not a note at all, like memory tapping once on the glass of your skull. Eli flinches. "It's quicker after 13, he says, "whatever it brings." That night I dream a noise that isn't a noise. The bakery's sheet pans clatter in the dark below me, then settle, and the smell of cooling sugar becomes a shore of its own. I wake at 3 to the soft roll of distant thunder and the thought that 13 is a person's habit slipping through a machine. Bells are simple. People teach systems to misbehave. In the morning, I walk to the collector's cottage on a hill above the harbor. His name is Lang. He opens the door with the careful hands of a man who leaves fingerprints in the right places. "You'll think it's a trick," he says before I sit down. "If you do, I won't be offended." When the world produces a neat pattern, either it is trying to be kind or it is trying to get you to listen. He shows me more footage. The bell is a pendulum of light whenever lightning crowds the horizon. It rings 13, the night before, a warehouse fire. 13 on the afternoon, a boy vanishes for 4 hours and reappears asleep in a skiff. 13 on the sunrise, when Mrs. Downs's husband packs his car and drives out, never minding he'd said he wouldn't. The camera angle never changes. The bell never moves except to ring. "Who hung it?" I ask. Lang glances at the window. "It's been there longer than anyone who cares to answer." When Grayfin rebuilt the boathouse after the second storm in 78, the bell was simply already hanging again, like the ocean put it back. This is supposed to be a joke. It doesn't land anywhere near one. I ask to see the bell up close, to measure it, weigh it, check for magnets, wire, a bored teenager with fishing line, anything. Lang smiles like you don't weigh the thunder to see why it speaks. "Ask Russ at the harbor office," he says. "He keeps the keys to the boathouse. He keeps every key. Russ is a small man with the face of a coat hook. He runs the harbor office out of a room lined with maps and splinters. When I ask for the boathouse key, he squints like I've offered to borrow a whole winter. "Inspection day's Friday," he says. "You want that bell so bad, you can wait nice like everybody else." It's not the bell I want, I say. It's what it's counting. He stops squinting. The keys jingle on his finger as he turns them. He finds one with a broken blue tag and sets it on the counter. Don't be clever in there, he says. The cleverness already got used up. I take the key and spend the afternoon in the boathouse. Dust in the air, salt on the rafters, a rim of dried kelp around the door like a wreath for water. I measure the bell's circumference and thickness, find its node points, chart the overtones that hum under its main note. It's a bell from an old steamer, cast to be heard above panic. I test for magnetic fields and hidden hardware. Nothing. I tap it with the wood handle of a net and count the hip-high seconds as the note drains away. The sound feels like something that knows your name. At 5, a girl in a yellow rain jacket stands in the doorway, holding the sort of ice cream you only buy in weather that resents you for buying it. You're the clock man, she says. Nan says you fix things that want to be fixed. Depends who's asking. I'm Birdie, she says, and points at the bell. It used to only ring when Mrs. Addie crossed the pier. She took her steps like a song, they said. Then it learned other feet. How old are you, Birdie? As old as sea glass, she says, which is not an age, and at the same time, the only one that matters. She tells me her father fishes the deep line and her mother keeps her books like shells lined up by size. She tells me Grayfin makes stories faster than it makes sense, and the bell is the story that wants to be the boss of all of them. She licks her ice cream once, twice, sets the cone on the railing like a placeholder for summer, and leaves. At dusk, the clouds pile in slow cabinets. The bell does not ring while I'm inside. It waits me out, or I wait it. I lock the door and step onto the pier just as the first hard drops start, and in the slice of quiet before rain is rain, I hear the bell stroke once like a knuckle on a door. I turn back. The door is still locked. My hand is still around the key. The sound came from inside anyway. That night, the storm does its work. Grayfin stares at its floors and lets the roof decide how much weather it wants to allow. I lie awake, hearing old wood complain. At 2:15, a clean silence drops, the kind that chooses where to land, and in that silence comes a tapping. Metal on metal. Measured, deliberate. Not the bell. Something smaller. Closer. I sit up. The tapping resolves into a rhythm I've known since childhood. 2 short, 1 long, 1 short. It's how my father used to call me from the shop without shouting. He'd tap the wrench against the bench, and I'd come out of whatever book I'd slipped under the counter and run to see who needed mending. The bakery below is dark. The hallway is empty. I follow the sound to the stairwell and then to the back door that leads to the alley. The tapping stops when I touch the handle. The alley glitters with rain. On the step is a tin soldier, the paint washed away to a stubborn shine. It leans at the ankle like it is halfway through a parade. I pick it up. It's still warm, as if it has been held. In the morning, Mrs. Downs pours coffee into a mug that says, "This is fine," in a font that absolutely does not believe it. I set the tin soldier on the counter. "Look what someone left me," I say. She presses her lips into a line you could cut paper with. "Birdie's been digging again," she says. "The tide throws up little lies, and children carry them around until the lies look true." "Lies about what?" "About what the town owes," she says, and wipes a dry surface that doesn't need wiping. "About who heard the 13th ring and didn't do anything about it." I take my coffee to the window. Out on the pier, a figure moves along the line of the boathouse roof, slow and careful, like someone tracing the seam where 2 things were once 1 thing. The figure stops under the crossbeam, where the bell hangs, and reaches up with both hands. The bell does not move. The figure does. It shifts in a way that makes my stomach stumble, and then it steps back and looks directly at the bakery window, like it knew I'd be there, like it knows I am counting. The bell rings once, gentle as a secret told into a collar. I set down the coffee and head for the door, but by the time I reach the street, the figure is gone, and the pier holds only rain and the taste of metal on the air. On the crossbeam above the bell, a new thing glints. A small brass hook that wasn't there yesterday, screwed into the wood at the exact spot where a secondary rope could have been, if one existed. The boathouse door is still locked. The key in my pocket feels heavier than it should. I glance at the harbor office. Russ stands in his window with his arms folded, not watching me by watching me very hard. "Can I help you?" he calls through the glass. "You tell me," I say. "Did you add a hook to a beam that shouldn't need one?" He opens the office door and leans on the frame. "Sometimes you put a thing where it doesn't belong to see who tries to use it," he says. "Sometimes the only way to find a thief is to give him a pocket." "What are we catching?" He doesn't answer. He nods at the bell. "You hear it last night?" 13? 12 in a whisper, I say. "Then we've got until the next tide to do something right," he says, and his voice tilts toward an old grief. "If we can remember what that is. How do you forget something like that?" "You don't," he says. You put it somewhere you can't reach it. A shadow crosses the harbor like a bruise under light. Eli appears at my elbow without the courtesy of steps. "Birdie's missing," he says. "Her mother says she left a note that wasn't a note and a trail of sea glass on the stairs." The bell rings once, far away and inside my ribs. And then, without wind, without hands, it begins to count. 4, 5, 6. Each note spreads through the harbor like ink in cold water. People pause in the streets, though they pretend they're only checking the clouds. 7, 8. The bakery's door opens and Mrs. Downs stands with her apron bunched in one hand, knuckles white. 9, 10. Russ pulls his window shut, too late to not look like he's afraid. 11, 12. The harbor seems to hold its breath, and then, soft as a sigh, the 13th chime. No wind, no movement, just the sound dropping into the sea like a coin into a bottomless well. Eli swears under his breath. "It's quicker now," he says again, though this time it's not a warning, but a verdict. He shoves his hands into his sweater and paces 3 steps up the pier. "Birdie's the one, isn't she?" "It picks someone each time. That's the pattern. Patterns don't choose," I tell him. "They reveal." "Tell that to her mother." We follow the trail of sea glass down the alley behind the bait shop. Each shard gleams faintly in the dim light, wet and sharp-edged, like crumbs of an impossible loaf. Birdie had scattered them in an almost straight line that pulls us toward the marsh at the town's edge. The air thickens with the smell of brine and rot. My boots sink into mud that grips like a hand unwilling to let go. At the marsh's center rises an old piling, barnacle-crusted, leaning at an angle no storm has bothered to correct. And tied to the piling with thin rope is Birdie's yellow rain jacket, sleeves outstretched like someone tried to make a scarecrow for the tide. She is not inside it. The rope creaks as the jacket lifts in the rising wind. Eli curses again, louder. She's playing some game she doesn't know the rules to. The rope snaps suddenly, the jacket slaps flat into the water, and from somewhere beyond the reeds, the bell tolls once more, though the boathouse is far behind us. The note carries wrong, stretched, distant, as if pulled through a throat not meant to hold it. I wade forward, heart tripping against my ribs. In the water beneath the jacket is a small wooden box, the kind you'd keep postcards in, swollen with damp. I haul it out. The lid sticks, but finally gives, revealing slips of folded paper, dozens of them, each blurred with ink that ran long ago. The top one clings to my fingers. I peel it open. In spidery script, we promised to listen when it spoke. Eli leans over my shoulder. "Listen to what?" The mud shudders under our feet. Ripples break across the water's skin without any stone to cause them. A shape passes beneath. Too large, too slow, turning like a shadow that doesn't match the body it belongs to. I slam the lid shut. The bell rings twice in quick succession, though no bell should ever do that. The reeds hiss as the wind picks up, bending like they're bowing. And then, from the far end of the marsh, a child's voice drifts, high, calm, reciting numbers. 1, 2, 3. Eli stiffens. "That's her." We run, following the sound through the reeds. Each count Birdie speaks matches the beats of the bell, though the bell itself is silent now. She's ahead, unseen, but the voice winds us deeper into the marsh until the ground firms, and we stumble onto a spit of dry land no one has bothered to chart. In the center stands Birdie, hair plastered by mist, eyes wide but not afraid. At her feet, another bell, smaller, rusted, half sunk in the soil. She strokes its curve with one finger each time she speaks a number. She looks up when we approach. "This one taught the big one," she says softly, "and it wants me to finish the song." "Birdie," I say, holding out my hand, "songs end when we decide, not when they tell us. Come away." She shakes her head. "It says if I stop, the storm won't know where to go. Someone has to keep count." The ground vibrates again, harder, and for a split instant I hear my father's old tapping, 2 short, 1 long, 1 short, rising from the rusted bell like an echo waiting years to escape. My knees go weak. The bell knows more than patterns. It knows people. Eli grabs Birdie's arm. "Then we'll count with you, or instead of you, but you're not staying here alone." The wind roars suddenly, lifting spray into the air. Over the harbor, a wall of dark cloud climbs, lightning folding inside it. Somewhere in the distance, the larger bell answers with a single defiant strike. And in that instant I realize the bells aren't warnings. They're invitations. They're calling something in.